The heartbeat I couldn't compete with. My sister faked a heart attack during my labor. The silence in our home had a weight to it, a thick, anxious stillness that clung to the furniture and muted the familiar hum of the city outside. My hospital bag, packed and repacked a dozen times, sat by the front door like a patient soldier awaiting its orders. At 39 weeks pregnant, every twinge, every flutter sent a jolt of what if through my system. My husband, Mark, was a rock, his calm presence a steady anchor in my sea of hormonal chaos. We were in the final countdown, just 2 days away from my scheduled induction, and all I wanted was to soak in these last moments of quiet before our world was beautifully, irrevocably changed. And all I wanted, more than anything, was for my parents to be there, to hold my hand, to share in the joy and the terror of welcoming their first grandchild. Of course, with my family, nothing is ever that simple. The complication had a name, Stella, my younger sister. To the outside world, Stella was a whirlwind of charisma, bright, funny, and impossibly beautiful. She could charm a room with a single smile and a well-timed story. But to those of us in her inner circle, especially me, she was a black hole, a vortex of need that warped everything around her until she was at the dead center. Her life was a constant, rolling drama series of her own making, where she was always the star, the victim, and the hero. Any light that shone on someone else was, in her eyes, a personal offense, a theft of her rightful spotlight. My pregnancy had been a particularly difficult test of her tolerance. The initial announcement was met with a tight, forced smile and a swift change of subject to a minor work disagreement she'd had. The baby shower, which my friends threw for me, was nearly derailed when Stella showed up an hour late, teary-eyed, announcing she and her on-again, off-again boyfriend had had a monumental, soul-shattering fight. The attention in the room immediately pivoted. Sympathetic arms wrapped around her, friends offered tissues, and my carefully planned games and gift opening were rushed through as an afterthought. I remember sitting on a pile of pastel-colored wrapping paper, my belly a huge, proud dome, feeling utterly invisible. This time, I thought it had to be different. This wasn't a party or a holiday. This was the birth of a child. It was a monumental, sacred event that even Stella, in all her self-absorption, would have to respect. I'd had a long, heartfelt conversation with my mother a week prior, my voice trembling with a mixture of hope and desperation. "Mom, I really need you and Dad there. Just you two. I need to feel safe, and I can't manage Stella's energy. Not while I'm in labor. Please." My mother sighed, a sound I knew all too well. It was the sound of a woman stretched thin between two warring children, a sound of weary surrender. "Clara, honey, you know how she gets. She feels left out. She already thinks this baby is stealing everyone away from her." "Stealing everyone?" I'd asked, my voice rising. "Mom, I'm having a baby, not staging a coup. This is supposed to be a happy family moment. For once, can it not be about her feelings?" "I'll talk to your father," she promised, a non-committal answer that was her specialty. "We'll be there for you, I promise. Don't you worry about a thing." But I did worry. I worried constantly. And my worry was justified that evening, 2 nights before the induction, when my phone rang. It was Stella. "Hey," she said, her voice unusually small and fragile. "How are you feeling?" "Big." I laughed, trying to keep it light. "And ready. Just trying to relax before the big day." "Yeah, about that," she began, and I felt my stomach clench. "I was just talking to Mom, and I don't know. I've been having these weird pains in my chest, and my left arm feels tingly." I closed my eyes, my fingers gripping the phone. "Here we go. Stella, you're 26 years old and perfectly healthy. It's probably just anxiety. It feels different this time, Clara. It's like a pressure, a squeezing." I looked it up online, and it says these are the classic signs of a heart attack in women. It said not to ignore it. The manufactured panic in her voice was so practiced, so expertly delivered, it could have won an award. "So you want to go to the emergency room 2 days before I go to the hospital?" The question hung in the air, heavy with accusation. "I don't want to go," she whined, her voice cracking. "But what if it's serious? I am scared. Mom and Dad think I should get checked out. They're worried sick." Of course they were. They were always worried sick. Stella's anxieties were their anxieties. Her dramas were their emergencies. I felt a familiar, hot surge of anger and helplessness. Mark walked into the room, saw the look on my face, and immediately knew who was on the phone. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his hands on my belly, a silent show of support. "Stella," I said, my voice low and steady, trying one last time for reason. "This weekend is not about you. It's about the baby. It's about me. I need mom and dad. Please, whatever this is, can it wait?" A beat of cold silence followed. Then, her voice dripped with poison. "Wow, I could be dying, and all you can think about is yourself. I see how it is. It's true what they say. You really do change when you become a mother. You become selfish." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my hand trembling. Mark gently took it from me and put it on the counter. "Don't let her get to you," he murmured, kissing my temple. "They'll be there. They promised. Her promises are written in disappearing ink," I whispered, leaning back into him. I felt my baby kick, a strong, reassuring thump from within. In that moment, I made a promise to my unborn child. I would not let her chaos touch you. I would be a shield. I just didn't realize how soon I'd have to use it. The call came at 3 a.m. Not the call I was expecting, the one where my water breaks in a dramatic movie-like gush, but a jarring ring that sliced through the thick, pre-dawn quiet. It was my dad. His voice was strained, a frantic edge to his usual calm demeanor. "Clara, I'm so sorry to wake you, but we're at the emergency room. It's Stella." I sat bolt upright in bed, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Mark was instantly awake beside me, his hand on my back. "What? What happened?" "The chest pains," I asked, already knowing the answer. "It got worse," he said, his words rushed. "She collapsed in the living room, said she couldn't breathe, that her whole left side was numb. We had to call an ambulance. We're at St. Mary's General now. They're running tests." St. Mary's, the hospital across town, a good 40-minute drive in the opposite direction from the maternity center where I was scheduled to be in just over 24 hours. It was a calculated move, I was sure of it. Stella wouldn't just create a crisis. She'd create a logistical nightmare, ensuring all family resources were deployed directly to her. "Is she okay?" I asked, the words feeling hollow and obligatory. A part of me, the guilty, sisterly part, felt a flicker of genuine concern, but it was quickly extinguished by the cold, hard certainty of manipulation. "We don't know yet, honey. She's terrified. Your mother is a wreck. We need to be here for her." There it was, the foundational statement of our family dynamic. We need to be here for Stella. "Okay, Dad, just keep me updated," I said, my voice flat. "We will. Try to get some sleep. We love you." He hung up. Sleep was a laughable impossibility. Mark held me as a torrent of emotions washed over me. Fury, betrayal, and a deep, aching sadness. She couldn't wait, I whispered into the darkness. She couldn't give me this one thing. She had to burn it all down just to feel the warmth of the flames. "She's not going to ruin this," Mark said fiercely, his voice a low growl. "This is our day, our baby. Her games don't get to touch this. If they're not there, it's their loss. You and me, we're a team. That's all that matters." I knew he was right, but the feeling of being abandoned by my parents, of being chosen second yet again, was a familiar wound that Stella had just poured salt into. The next day was a blur of unanswered texts and tense. Brief phone calls. My mom would answer, her voice hushed and distracted. "They're doing an EKG now. Her blood pressure is all over the place. They're talking about maybe admitting her for observation." Every update was delivered with a tone of grave importance, as if they were handling a national security crisis. When I tried to ask about their plans for my induction the next morning, my mother was evasive. "Honey, let's just get through this first. One crisis at a time." "Mom, this isn't a crisis." I finally snapped, my patience worn to a thread. "This is Stella wanting attention, and my labor is not a crisis. It's a scheduled medical procedure for the birth of your grandchild." "Don't you dare talk like that, Clara," she shot back, her voice sharp with misplaced indignation. "Your sister is in a hospital bed, scared and in pain. You're supposed to be family. I am so disappointed in your lack of compassion." The hypocrisy was so staggering, it left me speechless. I was the one lacking compassion. Me, the one carrying a 40-pound bowling ball on my abdomen, unable to sleep, barely able to walk, and facing the most physically and emotionally demanding experience of my life, completely alone. By evening, the official diagnosis came in. Stella had not, in fact, had a heart attack. All her tests came back clear. The doctors concluded she had suffered a severe anxiety attack that presented with physical symptoms, a condition known as somatic symptom disorder. A real condition, yes, but one that Stella had mastered and weaponized for years. It was the perfect, unprovable ailment. It gave her all the drama of a life-threatening illness with none of the actual risk. My dad called with the update. So, it was a panic attack, he said, his voice heavy with a relief I couldn't share. They're discharging her now. We're exhausted. We're going to take her home and get her settled. So, I'll see you tomorrow morning? I asked, a sliver of desperate hope in my voice. At the hospital, my induction is at 7 a.m. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I heard my mother's voice murmuring in the background. Clara, my dad said, his voice taking on a tone of pained apology I despised. Your sister is in a very fragile state. The doctor said the panic was severe and she can't be left alone. It could trigger another episode. Your mother is going to stay with her tonight. And you? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I need to be here to support them both, he stammered. We will try our best to get to you as soon as we can in the morning. As soon as Stella is stable. As soon as Stella was stable. The words echoed in my ears long after I hung up the phone. She would never be stable. Her stability was conditional on her being the center of the universe. And tomorrow, the universe was supposed to be a small, sterile room where I would bring new life into the world. A direct, cosmic threat to her reign. The battle lines had been drawn, and I knew, with a sinking, gut-wrenching certainty, that I was heading into it completely on my own. The hospital room was bathed in the sterile, impersonal glow of fluorescent lights. It smelled of antiseptic and clean linens, a scent that was supposed to be reassuring, but only served to heighten my anxiety. It was 7:15 a.m. Mark was by my side, holding my hand, his thumb rubbing gentle circles on my knuckles. A kind nurse named Maria had just administered the first dose of medication to begin the induction process. There was no turning back now. My phone, sitting on the bedside table, remained stubbornly silent. No good luck text. No, we're on our way call. The void left by my parents' absence felt like a physical presence in the room, a silent, judgmental guest. Forget them, Mark said, following my gaze. It's just us. And Maria. We like Maria, right? I managed a weak smile. Maria is great. She smiled back warmly. Okay, Clara, the first little while is mostly just waiting. The Pitocin will start to bring on contractions. They'll be mild at first, like period cramps, and will build over time. Try to rest, walk around if you feel up to it. I'll be back to check on you in an hour. The first few hours were deceptively calm. The cramps came and went, noticeable but manageable. We talked, we watched a mindless game show on the tiny television, and Mark read to me from a book of dad jokes he'd bought, his terrible puns a welcome distraction. But with every passing hour, the silence from my family grew louder, more deafening. I finally broke around 10 a.m., my resolve crumbling. I hit my mother's contact, my thumb hovering over the call button. Don't, Mark said gently. It's only going to upset you. I just need to hear her voice. I pleaded, tears welling in my eyes. I need my mom. The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. Her voice was a frantic whisper. Clara? Is everything okay? Is it the baby? Everything's fine, Mom. They started the induction. I'm just calling for an update. On you guys. It was a lie. I was calling for her to tell me she was getting in the car right now. Oh, it's been a nightmare morning, she sighed, and the world narrowed to the sound of her voice, detailing a drama that wasn't mine. Stella didn't sleep a wink. Every little noise made her jump. She says the chest pains are coming back. Not as bad as last night, but they're there. I've been making her chamomile tea and rubbing her back. Your father went out to get her favorite soup from that little deli she likes. She has to eat something. In the background, I could hear Stella's faint, theatrical whimper. The sound sent a spike of pure adrenaline through my veins. A cramp, stronger than the ones before, seized my lower back. I inhaled sharply, closing my eyes. Clara, are you there? My mother asked, her tone impatient. Yes, I'm here. I breathed out as the contraction subsided. Just had a contraction. Oh, right, she said, her distraction evident. Well, try to breathe through them. That's what they say, right? Listen, honey, I have to go. Stella is calling for me. Mom, wait. I say, my voice desperate. When are you coming? It's starting to get more intense. I need you. We want to be there, sweetie. We really do, she said, the empty platitude feeling like a slap. But Stella is just so fragile. We can't risk leaving her and having her end up back in the ER. Your father and I were just talking. Maybe we can try to come by later this afternoon? If she's feeling stronger. My entire labor, the birth of my child, was conditional on my sister's mood. The injustice of it was so profound, it almost took my breath away. She's 26 years old, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. She's not a child. I am your child, and I am in labor, and I am asking you to come to the hospital. Now, you're not being fair, Clara. My mom's voice turned cold. You have Mark. Stella has no one. She needs her parents, and I don't. The question came out as a choke sob. Don't be so dramatic, she chided, the ultimate irony. We'll get there when we can. She hung up. I stare at the phone, the tears I've been holding back now streaming down my face. A wave of pain, much fiercer this time, crashed over me, and I cried out a raw sound of both physical and emotional agony. Mark was there in an instant, his hands on my shoulders, his face a mask of concern and rage. What did she say? He asked, his voice tight. They're not coming. I wept, curling into myself as the contraction peaked. They're staying with her. They chose her. Mark's jaw was set like stone. He picked up his own phone and walked to the other side of the room, his back to me. I could hear his muffled, angry voice. Are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. She's your daughter. No, you listen to me. I couldn't make out the rest. All I could focus on was the pain in my body and the gaping hole in my heart. The two pains were becoming indistinguishable, a swirling vortex of hurt and pressure. The steady rhythm of the fetal heart monitor was a constant beat in the room, a reminder of the little life that was fighting its way to me. It was a heartbeat I had to focus on, a rhythm to ground me. It was the only one that mattered. And yet, the phantom heartbeat of my sister's fake illness, miles away, was somehow powerful enough to keep my own parents from my side. By 3 p.m., the world had shrunk to the four walls of the hospital room. The pain was no longer a wave. It was an ocean, and I was drowning in it. The early, manageable cramps had escalated into relentless, all-consuming contractions that stole my breath and buckled my knees. I had an epidural, a blessed relief that dulled the sharpest edges of the pain, but left an immense, crushing pressure in its place. I felt less like a person and more like a vessel for a powerful, seismic event. Maria, the nurse, was a constant calming presence. She adjusted my pillows, brought me iced chips, and spoke in a low, soothing voice, her competence a small island in my storm. Mark never left my side. He held my hand, wiped the sweat from my brow, and whispered words of encouragement into my ear, his love a shield against the pain and the crushing disappointment. But every time I looked at the door, a part of me still expected, hoped to see my parents walk through it, their faces etched with apology, ready to take their rightful places. My dad had sent a single text message around noon. Hope things are going smoothly. Stella is finally resting. We'll try to head over soon. It was now 3 hours later. Soon was a meaningless word. I was lying on my side, trying to breathe through a particularly intense surge of pressure, when Mark's phone, plugged into the charger by the window, began to ring. He glanced at the caller ID and his face darkened. It was my father. I've got it, he said, his voice clipped. He stepped out into the hallway to take the call, clearly intending to shield me from whatever fresh hell was about to be unleashed. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me alone with the rhythmic beeping of the monitors. I closed my eyes, trying to focus on my breathing. In for 4, out for 6. But I couldn't concentrate. I could hear the faint murmur of Mark's voice through the door, growing louder, tighter with anger. What do you mean, another hospital? A heart attack? Again? Are you serious right now? She was discharged this morning. My eyes shot open. My blood ran cold. It wasn't possible. She wouldn't. She couldn't. It was too cruel, too monstrous, even for her. The door flew open and Mark strode back in, his face pale, his eyes blazing with a fury I had never seen before. He was holding his phone in a white-knuckled grip. Mark, what is it? What's going on? I asked, my voice trembling. He looked at me, his expression a mixture of rage and profound pity. Clara, Your dad." He took a deep breath, trying to control his voice. "They're not coming. They're on their way to the ER at St. Mary's again." I just stared at him, my mind refusing to process the words. "But they said it was a panic attack. They discharged her, apparently," Mark said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "She woke up from her nap an hour ago screaming. Said the chest pain was 1,000,000 times worse, that her vision was going blurry, and that she couldn't feel her legs. She put on such a dramatic performance that your mother panicked and called 911 again. Your dad just called me from the ambulance." I felt a laugh bubble up in my throat, a hysterical, broken sound. An ambulance? She had actually called an ambulance while her sister was in active labor. The sheer, diabolical audacity of it was almost impressive. "And they believe her?" I whispered, the question tasting like ash in my mouth. "After what the doctors said this morning, they still believe her. It doesn't matter if they believe her or not," Mark said, kneeling beside my bed and taking my hands. His were shaking with rage. "They are enabling her. They are participants in this circus," your dad said, and I quote, "We think she might be having a real heart attack this time. We have to take it seriously. We can't take that chance. We can't take that chance." The words hit me with the force of a physical blow. They couldn't take the chance on Stella's transparent, manipulative charade, but they were perfectly willing to take the chance of missing the birth of their first grandchild. They were willing to leave me, their other daughter, in the most vulnerable moment of my life, to chase a phantom illness born of pathological jealousy. At that exact moment, Dr. Evans came in with Maria to check my progress. "Okay, Clara, let's see how we're doing," she said with a cheerful smile that faltered slightly when she saw the look on my face. She performed the exam, her movements quick and professional. When she looked up, her expression had changed. It was time. "Well, it looks like there's no more waiting," she announced. "You're fully dilated. We're going to have a baby." The doctor's words should have filled me with excitement and relief. Instead, they filled me with a cold, terrifying dread. The final act was beginning, and my parents, the two people I had naively assumed would be my unshakable support, were in another hospital across town, holding the hand of the sister who was actively, maliciously trying to ruin it. The betrayal was complete. It was an unforgivable act, a line crossed that could never be uncrossed. And as the medical team began to assemble and the pressure in my body built to an unbearable crescendo, I knew I wasn't just pushing to bring a new life into the world. I was pushing to expel a toxic, poisonous love that had been hurting me for my entire life. The next 2 hours were a blur of focused, primal effort. The world beyond my hospital bed ceased to exist. There was only the bright, sterile light above me, the encouraging faces of Mark and the medical team, and the monumental, earth-shattering task my body was undertaking. The epidural had taken the edge off the pain, but the pressure was a living thing, an immense, internal force that commanded every ounce of my strength and concentration. "Okay, Clara, on the next contraction, I need a big push. Like the biggest you've ever done. Take a deep breath and bear down for 10 seconds. Dr. Evans' voice was calm and commanding, cutting through the fog in my mind. I gripped Mark's hand, my knuckles turning white. He leaned in close, his forehead touching mine. "You can do this, Clara. You are so strong. It's just you and me. I'm right here. I love you so much." His words were my lifeline. In that moment, the raw, aching wound of my family's betrayal was temporarily cauterized by the fierce, unwavering strength of his love. They weren't here, and right now, that was okay. I had him. I had my baby. That was my family now. With every push, I channeled my anger and my hurt. I pushed against the pain. I pushed against the years of being second best, of my needs being sidelined for Stella's manufactured dramas. I pushed against the image of my parents sitting in a cold plastic ER chair, wringing their hands over a lie while a real miracle was happening right here, without them. It was a fury-fueled effort, a final, defiant act of reclaiming my own moment. "I can see the head. You're doing it, Clara. Just a couple more big pushes," the doctor announced, and a new wave of adrenaline surged through me. Mark's face was a beautiful, tear-streaked mess of awe and love. "You're amazing," he choked out. "Oh my God, Clara, you're so amazing." One final, guttural roar of a push, and then a sudden, miraculous release of pressure. It was followed by the most incredible sound I had ever heard. A thin, reedy cry that cut through the clinical beeping of the room and pierced me straight through the heart. "She's here," Dr. Evans proclaimed. "Congratulations, Mama. You have a beautiful baby girl." They laid her on my chest, a tiny, wriggling, purple creature covered in vernix, her eyes squeezed shut as she let out another cry. And just like that, the anger, the betrayal, the noise of Stella and my parents, it all vanished. It was silenced by an overwhelming, all-consuming wave of love that was so pure and powerful it remade my entire world in a single heartbeat. Her heartbeat, fluttering against my skin. I wept, but these were not the tears of hurt I had cried earlier. These were tears of profound joy, of relief, of a love I had never known was possible. Mark was crying too, his hand stroking our daughter's impossibly tiny head. We had done it. She was here. She was perfect. For an hour, we existed in that perfect, sacred bubble. We counted her toes, marveled at her tiny fingernails, and I nursed her for the first time. A moment of such deep connection, it felt like the rest of the world had fallen away. But the world, unfortunately, has a way of creeping back in. As I was lying back, exhausted but euphoric, with our daughter, whom we decided to name Lily, sleeping soundly in the bassinet beside me, Mark's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and the rage from before returned to his face like a storm cloud. It was a text from my dad. He read it aloud, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. "False alarm again. The doctors are furious she came back. They said it was another, more severe panic attack. Gave her a sedative. We are on our way to you now. So sorry. Can't wait to meet my grandbaby." The words hung in the air, grotesque and obscene in the sanctity of the room. The casual, almost breezy tone of the message, the exclamation point at the end, as if this were all just a silly misunderstanding that could be smoothed over with a hospital visit. On our way now, as if they could just show up for the curtain call after deliberately missing the entire performance. "What do you want to do?" Mark asked, his eyes searching mine. His unspoken question was clear. "Do you want me to tell them how to come?" A part of me, the angry, wounded part, wanted to scream yes. I wanted to bar the door, to protect this peaceful space from their guilt and their excuses. But another part of me, the tired, newly made mother, just felt empty. The fight was gone, replaced by a cold, clear-eyed exhaustion. "Let them come," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "Let them come and see what they missed." I looked down at my daughter, so tiny, so innocent. She had no idea of the drama that had preceded her arrival. She just knew the warmth of her mother's arms and the steady beat of my heart. I had fought for her. I had brought her into the world with my own strength. I had done it without them. And that realization, more than anything, changed everything. The power dynamic in our family had irrevocably shifted. I didn't need them. But oh, they were about to find out how much they needed to be needed. The show wasn't over. My sister had her performance, but now it was my turn. 2 hours later, just as the evening nurses were starting their rounds, the door to my room creaked open. My parents shuffled in, looking haggard and ridiculously out of place. My father was holding a sad-looking gas station bouquet of carnations, and my mother was clutching her purse to her chest like a shield. Their faces were a clumsy cocktail of feigned excitement, guilt, and utter exhaustion. "There she is," my dad said, his voice attempting a joviality that fell completely flat. "We're here. Grandparents have arrived." My mother rushed to my bedside, her eyes avoiding mine, focusing instead on the sleeping baby in the bassinet. "Oh, Clara, look at her. She's perfect." She reached out a hesitant hand to touch Lily's head. I didn't say anything. I just watched them. Mark stood silently by the window, a sentinel guarding our newfound peace. The silence in the room was heavy, thick with unspoken accusations and pathetic excuses. "We are so sorry we weren't here," my mom began, finally meeting my gaze. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "You have no idea what we've been through." It was the most terrifying experience of my life. When Stella collapsed, the things she was saying, we truly thought we were losing her. "The doctors told you this morning it was a panic attack," I said, my voice calm and even. It surprised me how steady it was. The hormonal, weeping woman from this afternoon was gone, replaced by someone colder, harder. The doctors at St. Mary's were, and I quote my father, furious she came back. "Why was your experience more terrifying than mine?" My father winced. "Now, Clara, that's not fair. We were worried about both of our girls. No, I said, shaking my head slowly. No, you weren't. You were placating one of your girls and abandoning the other. There's a difference. I looked down at my perfect, tiny daughter who was starting to stir. You missed it. You missed the birth of your first grandchild. You weren't here when I was scared. You weren't here when I needed my mother. You missed her first cry. You missed her being placed on my chest. You missed everything. And for what? For another episode in the Stella show. My mother started to cry, silent, guilty tears. She was so convincing. You didn't see her. She looked like she was dying. That's her specialty, Mom, I replied, my voice devoid of sympathy. She's been practicing for this her whole life. Every time I had a big recital, she got sick. The day I got my acceptance letter to college, she claimed her boyfriend had cheated on her and needed emergency consoling. The night Mark proposed to me, she had a nervous breakdown over a fight with a friend. Are you really so blind that you can't see the pattern? She couldn't stand that this one day, this one single important day was about me. So she manufactured an emergency so catastrophic that you would have no choice but to run to her side. And you fell for it. Again, they had no answer. They just stood there, looking old and defeated. My dad sank into the visitor's chair, the carnations drooping in his hand. Then came the text message I'd been waiting for. My phone lit up on the bedside table. It was from Stella. I picked it up and read it out loud for the whole room to hear. Hey Clara, heard the baby came. Congrats. So sorry about all the drama. I'm feeling a little better now. The sedative helped. The doctors think I might have a rare heart condition that's triggered by stress. It's been really scary for me. Hope you can understand. Can't wait to meet my little niece. I let out a short, bitter laugh. A rare heart condition, I repeated, looking directly at my parents. Of course, a new, mysterious, untreatable ailment that will require constant attention and worry. She's already writing the script for the next season, and you two have already renewed your contracts as the lead supporting actors. Mark finally spoke, his voice low and dangerous. The only thing you'll be doing, he said, looking at my parents, is giving us some space. Clara and Lily need to rest. We need to be a family. You can see your granddaughter when we are home and settled, and when you've both figured out where your priorities lie. My father looked shocked, but my mother just nodded, wiping her eyes. The fight had gone out of them. They saw what they had done, or at least they were seeing the consequences. They mumbled their goodbyes, gave Lily one last, longing look, and shuffled out of the room, leaving the wilting flowers on the chair. As the door closed, a profound wave of peace washed over me. It was done. The confrontation hadn't been a screaming match, but a quiet, factual execution of a boundary that should have been drawn years ago. I looked at Mark, my heart swelling with love for him. He was my partner, my protector. And then I looked at Lily, my daughter, my future. The past, with all its toxic dynamics and painful memories, felt like another country. A place I had finally, blessedly, left behind. The road ahead would be difficult, I knew that. But for the first time, I felt like I was the one holding the map.